Okay, welcome everyone to the uh, this chapter 2, Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, and I'll be speaking in English. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Chapter 2 has been referred as the contents of Gita summarized by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada gave the English title to this chapter 2 as contents of Gita summarized. So now let us look at as I have done in chapter 1, first portion of the explanation of the chapter in terms of theme-wise progression in the chapter, or section-wise progression in the chapter, right? And then I speak about what we learned. Just like in chapter 1, we talked about characters. Dhritarashtra is a character, Duryodhana and his party is a character, Arjuna and Sanjay, and ultimately Krishna. Similarly, what are the takeaway from chapter 2? Once you go through the chapter 2, how it must puzzle you. So that is a in which way chapter 2 triggers our mode, both spiritual and material. So these are some of the things that we would like to focus. And then I give some samples how to study every verse, purport-wise. How do we, and of course when you register for the course, this time the questions will be very tough, because not tough, but they will be very rigorous, because unless you study every purport, you cannot answer the questions. So these are the way this course will go on. And then the third part, the third part was the how to read each verse along with the purport, and the fourth part is what are the important verses Srila Prabhupada quoted. For me, that is very important, because whatever verses I memorized based on this principle. And after that, I have not memorized any verses, because unfortunately I had very little time in my professional life to memorize new verses. Even if I memorized, I easily forgot, because that also happened. But I have not forgotten the verses that are there in the Bhagavad Gita Prabhupada quoted, because that is how I learned how to explain Bhagavad Gita. So these are the 4 ways. Every chapter we are going to follow the same method. So now let us go to organization of the chapter. So dear devotees, you see there are 5 sections in this chapter. First section, verse number 1 to 9, Arjuna surrenders to Lord Krishna. Then the second section, verse number 10 to 30, understanding soul through Sankhya analysis, Jnana Yoga. Then understanding one's duty, that is verse number 31 to 38. This is Karma Yoga. And then Buddhi Yoga, or Krishna consciousness, 39 to 53. This is the, so first Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, then we have Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and then Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, and ultimately characteristics of a saintly person, Sthita Pragya. This is the last section, verse number 54 to 70. This is how this chapter is organized. And if you, now just like if you remember this section wise, then you remember the entire chapter, right? So chapter 1, starts with introducing the armies, right? Then blowing up the concept, right? So Arjuna's argument against not fighting. So once you know this, then you remember the chapter very nicely. Similarly here, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, then Jnana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Krishna Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, and then characteristics of saintly person. So once you have this, then you are a good platform to go deep into the chapter, right? So this is what I would like you people to follow. So now, every chapter has a key verse, right? What is that key verse, right? So similar. So in this chapter, the key verse is Bhagavad Gita 2.59. Spiritual experience is the key. Visaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopiyasya param drushva nivartate. The meaning of this verse is, the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment through the taste, though the taste for sense objects remain. But ceasing such engagement by experiencing a higher taste, the verse is saying, normally any spiritual tradition, they teach us sense restriction. Sense restriction. But only sense restriction is not going to give us anything. This is the problem with all spiritual traditions. They talk only sense restriction. I'm not saying sense restrictions are not there, but sense restriction is not something that will give us divinity. I have to have divine experience. I have to have Krishna consciousness to understand Krishna consciousness. Okay? I have to have the eye of divinity to understand divinity. I have to have ear of divinity to understand divinity. I have to have touch of divinity to understand divinity. So this is something that is crux of this chapter. This chapter, unless you understand these particular words, this entire chapter you will never understand. You will never understand. That is why this is the key verse. This is the heart of chapter 2. So this is what also I keep always in every chapter, that what is the heart of this chapter, right? So now we go section wise. Arjuna surrenders to Lord Krishna. So can you give me Bhagavad Gita? So let us go through the verse wise. So verse number 1 to 3, Lord Krishna disapproves Arjuna's argument, right? Verse number 1 to 3. What are they? Seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. Krishna said, "My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you?" He didn't placate him. "They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life." Actually, Krishna has made Krishna as an instrument, but then Krishna knows how to teach us through Arjuna. So he is saying that. "They lead not to a higher planets, but to infamy." What kind of consciousness you have now? This is not befitting to your position. O son of Prutha, do not yield to this degrading importance. Can you imagine? Importance. Klaibyam. So, it does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of enemy. So, Krishna didn't approve Arjuna's argument. Full stop. So, then what happened? Arjuna would start arguing. 4 to 6. So, he would say, "O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship?" And that is exactly Krishna did, isn't it? Krishna took Arjuna exactly in front of Bhishma and said, "Here is Bhishma, here is Drona." He didn't say, but the way he placed the chariot, that's how he saw. "It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood." My dear friend, how Arjuna is giving saintly argument. He is not giving cowardly argument. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. Basically, even I would say something in any situation, I don't know what is right, what is wrong, only Krishna knows, right? But Krishna says something, Guru says something, then you cannot say, "Oh, I don't know." Okay? So yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live, yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. So this is how Arjuna argued. Okay? And more argument, he became more confusion, and then he surrenders. He says, "Karpanya dosapahata sobhava pruchami tvam dharma sammudha cheta yat shreyasya nischitam bruhi tanme sisyaste aham sadhi mam tvam praparnam." Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Krishna is saying, I am a soul surrendered. Sisyaste aham sadhi mam tvam praparnam. I have surrendered to you. A soul surrendered to you. That means I have given myself to you now. You educate me. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. He is very frank, very honest. He is saying, what is my status? He is not hiding. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. So Arjuna is making it very clear. Krishna, if you want to placate me saying that you will become the ruler of the entire universe, then also I will not be satisfied. Give me the spiritual intelligence. So Arjuna was not seeking material welfare, material intelligence, material prosperity. No. That is the sign of surrender. When I surrender, if I am still thinking, like, I have been teaching here in IIT Kanpur, you invest in them so many years of your time, and then they would say, sir, I have to do this, I have to get married, I have to have 12 children, I have to have, so many things. Their list is, I want to get married, my father wants, the wife, the girl should be very beautiful, and she should give us as much dowry as possible, she should be very well educated, she should have a job, every list. And then you are thinking, Baba, we have invested in these people for so many years, and this is what the product we are getting. Right? So, no, you cannot surrender to Krishna with those kind of mentality. These are sickening mentality. The real mentality is to please Krishna. Krishna, I am interested only in the spiritual guidance. What is the spiritual welfare of everyone? Okay. So verse number 1 to 9, this is the description. Now you see what's happening. When a pure devotee enters into difficulty, he surrenders to Krishna. Arjuna was in depression, but surrendered to Krishna. So this proves Arjuna is a pure devotee. Generally in depression, one in material consciousness degrades further. When depression attacks you, and if you are in materialistic mindset, you will degrade until you are annihilated. Whereas, when we surrender to Krishna, even after depression, that means we are not in material platform. We have transcended material platform. And what is the net result of surrendering to Krishna? Divya Jnana Hruday Prakashito. Divine knowledge manifest. Divya Jnana Hruday Prakashito. Right? So you can put that, Divya Jnana Hruday Prakashita in that point. So I may forget. So this is very important. Okay, now that is section 1. Okay, section 2. Understanding soul through Sankhya. So this section starts, I have not put 10 and 11 in this. 10 and 11 just Krishna started speaking to Arjuna and he scolded Arjuna, saying Anarya. So let's not worry about this. We can put also 10 to 30 is fine. I have made continuous. Yes, 10 to 30, that's fine. And 10 and 11 is the, Krishna is preparing Arjuna to hear. When I remember, when we used to make mistake in our early Krishna consciousness, our teacher used to shout. The moment he would shout at us, the whole agitation and everything will become super cool. And then we will be perfectly situated to hear. This is my experience. And that is why I am able to correlate, because Krishna chastised Arjuna. And now, when Arjuna heard that he is Anarya, so what is the next thing? I am Anarya? Wow! That's a big word coming from Krishna. Let me well behave. Let me hear him properly. So, chastisement is the beginning. Without chastisement, you cannot learn Krishna consciousness. I think verse number 11, you can put in there. Transcendental chastisement is required for being qualified to be able to hear. So now Arjuna has to hear. So what is the verse 12 and 13? 12 and 13 is saying, everything is eternal, everything is individuality is maintained, not only soul. Krishna says in chapter verse number 12, he says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to. So by saying that, Krishna said, he exists, so also each one of us, we exist. Our existence is eternal. That is, we never merge. Right? And verse number 13 says, continuous transmigration of the conditioned soul. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So when Krishna speaks about that you are a soul, my dear Arjuna, all these personalities are soul, they cannot be killed, neither you can kill them. How can you understand that? So this is not a subject matter you can easily understand. So immediately verse number 14 and 15, Krishna talks about sense control. If you don't have sense control, you cannot understand the soul. And that is why immediately says, Matra sparsastu kaunteya sitasno sukadukada agavama paina nityas tam titikhyasa bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. They arise from sense perception. O son of Bharata, one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So, sense perception should not be given any credence. We should tolerate them. And we should act in Krishna consciousness, whether it is a happy time or distress time. O best among men, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. Here that he is saying Dhira. So who is a Dhira? So when Krishna spoke about Dhira, only Dhira can understand that soul is transmigrating from one soul to another soul. And Krishna is advising Arjuna, you become Dhira. And what is the characteristic of Dhira? That is given in chapter verse number 14 and 15. Right? And then there is a long section, 16 to 29, qualities of soul, the anti-material soul. Right? We can just read it and you can just hear it. They are just music to the ear. Those who are seers of truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So what? That which pervades the entire body is indestructible. So this is something that we have to understand very clearly. And material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore fight, O descendant of Bharata. So Krishna is saying, why you are lamenting for the body? Like yesterday or day before yesterday, I called my friend Sandeep Kumar from IIT BHU. I was asking him, should I come? Because COVID has now spreading like wildfire. Should I come? And he said, then don't come, because in his IIT BHU also there are 5-6 COVID cases. And then he said that I have been thinking it is better to leave this body in this COVID. That is what he was telling. So basically, we can leave this body by any means, right? So, neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor he who thinks it slain is in knowledge. For the self slays not, nor is slain. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. And then, O Partha, how can a person who knows that soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, immutable, kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Do you think Arjuna didn't know all these things? He is from, born in a royal family. He doesn't know this. Okay? As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. By Krishna, by reiterating the same thing that they have already listened, Arjuna has already listened to them. But in the time of confusion, you are forgetting those teachings. So Krishna is telling, Arjuna, didn't you hear this? Didn't you hear the soul is eternal? You can't kill the soul. Soul is indestructible. Don't you know this? So by reiterating, Krishna is reinforcing the spiritual conviction of Arjuna, that whatever he has learnt, he has been taught by his wonderful royal tradition, is actually correct. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by wind. This individual soul is unbreakable, insoluble, can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, eternal, eternally the same. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. If, however, you think that soul, the symptom of life, will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed. Okay. One who has taken his birth is sure to die. After death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? So we can make a subsection 26, 27, 28 about the created. Anything that is created will be anyway destroyed, right? So soul is not created. Soul is eternal, co-eternal with Krishna. It is not created. Okay. And finally, conclusion of this verse, of this section is in 29th, where Krishna is saying, some look on this soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So, dear devotees, this is very, very important. So, we basically understood the verse number 10 to 30, and in 30th verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna, O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. So actually, nobody dies. Everybody is there. He will be taken care by the laws of nature, and when he is perfected, he will be taken care by Krishna. So we will be taken care by the nature. How we will be taken care? We have got a body now, and nature will give us another body after this body perishes. So we are always taken care of. So, in 2.16, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, Arjuna, I told you about soul, and I told you who understand the soul, Dhira, and I explained to you who are Dhira in text number 14 and 15. So Krishna is telling that in 2.16 he is saying, learn the science of the soul from the seers. You cannot learn it by your own speculation. From the seers who have seen both matter as well as na sato vidyate bhava, na bhava vidyate sato. That verse. And then 2.17, spiritual consciousness is imperishable. Living symptom, bodily consciousness is temporary. I have been again asking this question. Do you need words for language? Do you need language for thinking, expressing? We have experience, we have feeling, we have willing, thinking, feeling, willing. Do we need language for this? No. When one is spiritually excited, he shouts, he laughs in a mad way because he cannot explain. The spiritual happiness cannot be explained. All that would manifest asta sattvika vikara, bodily symptom. You cannot explain that. The spiritual rapture cannot be explained in language. So also my feeling, materially also speaking, my feeling, willing, they don't need word. Word is necessary for civilized way of interaction. That is why word, language is a manifestation of civilized society. In human society, you don't see language. Okay? We have a language, but my feeling, willing, thinking, they are independent of the language. But then they get expressed through words, right? And among words, what is more important? If you go to the Sanskrit language, it is verb, root, dhatu, action, right? Although I don't want to digress now because these are all very deep subject. And 2.19 to 24, Krishna talked about properties of the soul, and then we are done with this section 2, right? In section 2, we learned about the soul, right? And now section 3, understanding one's duty through analysis, right? So 31 to 32. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principle, and so there is no need for hesitation. And 32. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of heavenly planet. And you see, Krishna is giving argument. Is that we must act according to our bodily nature. We have got a bodily nature. And Arjuna is Kshatriya. Kshatriya means he is the giver of protection. Kshat trayate. And by his nature, he must fight in the battle. Okay? And if Arjuna thinks that he is saintly person, he has transcended his body, Kshatriya quality, then he must surrender to Krishna and follow what Krishna wants. And Krishna wants him to fight. So whether he follows his body dharma or he follows his soul dharma, Atma dharma, in both cases he must fight. And that is what he would learn at the end of the chapter, at the end of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So 31, 32, act according to your nature. And we all must act according to our nature. And then 33 to 36, Krishna is telling, my dear friend, if you don't act according to your nature, then you will be in hell. Directly. Royal road to hell is not to be situated in your nature. So 33. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Okay? People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? And this is correct. You think that if Arjuna would have fled to the jungle, Duryodhana would have given him accolade? No. He said he's a coward. He would have said that for sure. And if he would not have fought, and his dharma is Kshatriya, when battle would have taken place, anyway battle would have taken place, then Arjuna would have come anyway to the battle. But by that time, somebody would have taken his position. He doesn't want to be the instrument of Krishna, then he would become instrument of Maya. Okay. And 37 to 38, overcoming sin by being situated in one's dharma. So this is karma yoga. The section 2 was jnana yoga, and this is karma yoga. Okay. So 37, O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly king's kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by so doing, you shall never incur sin. Okay. So, dear friend, this is the essence of karma yoga. Essence of karma yoga, you engage in, according to your dharma, as an intellectual or an administrator or a businessman or a service provider, while keeping Krishna in the center. That is karma yoga, and this is exactly Krishna is telling. Okay, so now let's go to the section 4. Section 4 is Buddhi yoga or Krishna consciousness. And you see, let me start with the verse because Buddhi yoga would be specifically stated here. Esa te vihita sankhe buddhir yogeti mam srunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Prutha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. So, dear friend, so Krishna is now going to speak about Krishna consciousness, Buddhi yoga, right? So, Prabhupada very clearly said Buddhi yoga and Bhakti yoga, they are non-different. So 39 to 41. Okay. So this, let me give a quick summary of the section 4. 39 to 41, the thing is, Shraddha Sabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudruda Nishchay, Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Kruta Hoy. This is Buddhi Yoga. This is all Buddhi Yoga. Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Kruta Hoy. Okay. And that is the essence of 39 and 49, up to 41. In this endeavor, there is no loss, diminution. And a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. And then those who are on this path are resolute in purpose. Their aim is one. O beloved child of Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Okay. And then 42 to 45. Materialistic pursuits cannot extract juice from Vedic literature. That means Krishna is telling Arjuna, you know many Vedic experts, but basically they are fools, idiots, rascals. That's what Krishna is telling. He's saying that men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. And this particular thing is, in North India, this is too much ingrained. Oh, I am a Rajput, I am a Thakur, I am a Brahmin. Because of good karma, I have got this birth. And I am going to perform better karma, Devi Puja, Navaratra. Nobody fails in this part of the world to perform Navaratra. But you ask them what is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, they will not be able to say anything. Because they don't understand what is Bhagavad Gita. They are simply attached to the material pursuits given in Veda. This is the problem. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such thing, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties from gain and safety, and be established in the self. Okay. So this is 42 to 45. Basically, Krishna is saying, do not go by so-called Vedic scholars. They don't understand me. Okay. And 46, Krishna is directly saying, Krishna consciousness is the big reservoir. Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness is the big reservoir. Yavan artha udapane sarvata samplutodake tavan sarvesu vedesu brahmanasya vijanataha. All purposes served by small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of Veda can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them, and that is Bhagavad Gita. So, you can say 2.46 is about the essence of Vedic literature, that is Bhagavad Gita. And 47 to 53, action in Krishna consciousness results in real samadhi. Karmanyevadikaraste ma phalesu kadachana ma karma phalo heturvur mate sangosti akarmani. You have right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. We perform action, but those actions are not being performed by me, hence results are not by me. I am not entitled to the results. Results are entitled, Krishna is entitled to those results. Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. Misers. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reaction even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Yogaha karmasu kausalam. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries. When your intelligence has passed out of dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. So that would be known when I am able to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the section 4. Section 4 is about Krishna consciousness or Buddhi Yoga, and I also, every section I gave also subsection, so you got an idea. Now that we will go to section 4 little more detail. 2.40 is that is spiritual or Krishna conscious endeavor is eternal bank balance, right? So even if you do little in Krishna consciousness, that would remain in our bank account permanently. And 2.46 tells why Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic literature, right? So that is what is that Sanskrit word udapane, yavan artha udapane, the well of water, and sampluta udake, a great reservoir of water, right? So udapane and sampluta udake. So when you have an ocean, you don't need well for water, right? So this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita 2.46 tells why Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic literature, because Bhagavad Gita tells us the purpose behind Veda. 2.47, every one of us must act according to the nature we acquired, but the results must be given to Krishna. And 2.51, by engaging in Krishna consciousness, the whole material world becomes like Vatsapadam, to cross over, and that is Samasritaye Pada Pallava Plavam. Prabhupada quotes that verse also in 2.51. Samasritaye Pada Pallava Plavam Mahat Padam Punya Yasomurare Bhavam Budher Vatsapadam Param Padam 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 Yat Vipadam Natesam. So those who have started seriously studying Bhagavad Gita, you must memorize all these quoted verses by Prabhupada. Okay, so that is the essence of section 4, and then section 5, characteristics of a saintly person, verses 54 to 72. A Krishna conscious person is self-situated. 55 to 58, a Krishna conscious person is self-situated, aloof from sensory perception. So this is how this section came, because Arjuna asked, Sita pragyasya ka bhasa samadhi stasya kesava sitadhi kim pravasate pravaseta kim asita brajeta kim. So when he asked Sita Pragya, what is his symptom, what does he speak, what is his language, how does he sit, how does he walk, everything Arjuna asked. And Krishna is going to give that answer. in a very graphic manner. So 55. O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, when his mind thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. That means I should be able to tell myself, I can now switch off from this material world. I have nothing to do with this material world. That means I am carrying Krishna consciousness. I am fully Krishna conscious. So I can switch off from this material world. When you can say that, that is Sthita Prajna. In 56, Krishna is saying, one who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. In the materialistic world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Okay? So, he is self-situated. Krishna conscious person is self-situated. And finally, 58th verse, one who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limb within the cell, is firmly fixed in perfect Krishna consciousness. Basically, a devotee of Krishna is not situated in body. He is situated in sastric knowledge. He is situated in the instruction of his Guru and Krishna. That is the nature of a devotee. 2.59. A Krishna conscious experience is required to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. That is the essence of, I have already explained that. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasovarjam rasopi asya param društva vartate. My dear friend, this is the summum bonum of Krishna consciousness. Divinity can be perceived through divinity. There is no other method. So this divinity is a grace of Guru and Krishna. So that's why Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bija. Anybody who has got this mercy of Guru and Krishna is very fortunate. Then verse number 60 to 68, the process of sense control. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. You see? And 61, one who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, fixes his consciousness upon me, matparaha, is known as a man of steady intelligence. And this is the essence why Buddhi Yoga is Krishna consciousness, because Krishna is saying, you have to meditate upon me. And the famous 3 verses quoted by Prabhupada in this purport is Srimad Bhagavatam, the way Ambarisha Maharaja performed Navada Bhakti. 62, while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises. So 62 and 63, they are like a royal road to hell. From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. Right? So, one has to be very careful. One should remain light years away from lust. But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. For one, thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. Example of Ajamila. Therefore, O mighty armed one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. Right? So 60 to 68, the process of sense control, how mind or any of the senses can degrade us to the to the realm of hell. And 69, Krishna is telling Arjuna, "O Arjuna, do not become a person of universal brotherhood, because there are two categories of people. One category is seeker of truth, the other categories are idiots, pakhandis, atheists, sense gratifiers, and they are poles apart. Yanisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami yasyam jagarti bhutani sanisha pasyato mune." For seekers, that which is day; for sense gratifiers, that is night; and sense gratifier, what is day, that is night for seekers. So it is mutually exclusive. And finally, 70 to 72, one who rejects bodily perception in favor of spiritual experience can attain the highest goal. Right? A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace. Nor the man given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. My dear friend, this is the last section, and I have some important points noted there. You can see there 2.55 to 2.68, symptoms of Sthita Prajna. Man of fixed intelligence. Through spiritual intelligence you can guide your mind. And what is spiritual intelligence? Krishna is the absolute truth, and we must follow his instruction. We must try to serve him, please him. So this spiritual intelligence if you have, then you can become a man of Sthita Prajna. 2.58, he is a good observer of the body. A Sthita Prajna is a good observer of the body, how three modes are acting, and he is not disturbed. In no situation he loses track of his self-identity, an instrument of Krishna. And 2.59, that is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Vinaya Visaya Vinivartante Niraharasya Dehina Raso Varjam Rasopyasya Param Drushta Nivartate. I have told it. Say, in Jnana and Dhyana, you suppress the senses. In Bhakti, one always looks for the higher test. And because he looks for the higher test, and hence his senses are always controlled. Why our senses are not in control? Because we do not look for higher test. The moment you don't look for higher test, you are finished. You look for a lower test would attack you. So, see, he always wants to hear about Krishna by singing Vaishnava Bhajan, memorizing Bhagavad Gita slokas, always chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He always seeks out for divine experiences. He is never attracted to lower test born of material nature. Right? So, unless I seek out the better and better experience, if I am not looking for spiritual rapture, then there is no way, my dear friend, you can understand Krishna consciousness. Every day you should be looking for some newer taste in Krishna consciousness. And 2.62 to 63, all of you know, royal road to hell if one meditates on lust. Dhyato vishayan pungsa sangastesu upajayate. Sangat sanjayate kama, kamat krodha vijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammahat buddhi भ्रंसा, smriti भ्रंसा, smriti भ्रंसात buddhinasa, buddhinasat pranasyati. So we need the mercy of Guru and Krishna to be freed from lust, anger, greed, envy, pride and illusion. 2.69 Yanisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami yasyam jagarti bhutani sanisha pashyato mune. So when you start becoming Krishna consciousness, don't look for your friends who are not interested. Oh, they are not interested, so should I go to Krishna consciousness? No. From the very beginning you must be very clear. Non-devotees, they would always take pleasure in sense gratification. Devotees would take pleasure in austerity, penance and sacrifice. Non-devotees would always talk about economic development, and devotees would talk about spiritual development. They would value wealth, power, beauty and so forth. We only value spiritual intelligence. So this is mutually exclusive. There is no common link here. Okay? And 69 to 72, goal of human life. 2.70, consciousness that you experience in the physical body, that is unlimited desires. That everybody experiences. Lust, greed, anger, we all experience. But a person in fixed intelligence is not perturbed with such temporary desires. Rather, he, with a renewed vigor, engages in Krishna consciousness. In verse number 71, Krishna says, a person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. Right? So when we give up the idea that I have a name, I and mine, and understand we are the instrument of Krishna, and dedicate ourselves to Krishna conscious actions, then life is successful. And finally 2.72, that is the way of spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, beyond Buddhist nirvana, life starts. Prabhupada quotes Buddha. Buddha's nirvana is cessation of materialistic activities. And we accept that is correct. But then, for Buddha that is end. But for us, life begins from there. We start engaging everything in Krishna's service. So life starts after Buddhist nirvana. So those who become Krishna conscious, they have already gone through the stages of Buddha, Buddhism, Advaitism, Shankaracharya, and now you are in Krishna consciousness. Okay? So many cycles of birth and death positions each one of us in different yoga. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in this chapter, entire Bhagavad Gita has been summarized. 3 distinct yogas, as section-wise I demarcated, from verse number 10 to verse number 30, Jnana Yoga, and then 31 to 38, Karma Yoga, and 39 to 53 is Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. So this is how this chapter is, and they will be further elaborated in the next chapter. And Dhanurdhar Swami, he used to always tell when he would speak on Bhagavad Gita that when you introduce a subject, you tell the summary first, then you elaborate. After elaboration, again you give the summary. So that is how chapter 2 is summary, and chapter 18 also you can say again this summary. Okay, so this is how Bhagavad Gita is. I think I should take a pause here. I don't know how long it has been we are speaking now. 2023. What I will do, because this slide we have, total slide we have 40. So how long I went today?
8:25, almost an hour.
No. How many verses I covered? Only 12. So 40 slides, and I have only covered 12 slides. Right. So, but that's how it is. You cannot cover everything. So maybe we will discuss. So we will do continue tomorrow, chapter 2, second part. And so thank you very much for joining this session. If you have any question, please ask. Yes, Dibya. Speak loudly. Yes. Speak again.
I raised some questions in because Arjuna claims that their own virtue is correct.
कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. I'm not able to follow the why what is happening? Why audio? Acha. Can you type your question, Dibya?
Yes.
Vivo 1921. Please place your name instead of Vivo.
Yeah, sorry. Guruji, Hare Krishna. My name is Hari. I joined from my mobile actually today. Yesterday I got registered.
Yeah.
Guruji, since my childhood, actually, in my joint family, I'm somewhat topper. But my cousins and my friends actually, they put me away actually. How to deal with these situations, difficult situations? I mean, somewhat tricky situations for a normal human being.
You see, this is how the Duryodhana and his co were dealing with Arjuna.
Okay.
And what did Arjuna do? Arjuna never gave importance to Duryodhana. He gave importance to Krishna.
Okay.
So, you bring your attention to Krishna now. And allow Krishna to handle your situation.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, okay.
So, you continue, you bring your focus. Don't give attention to them. If you give attention to them, then their mode and your mode will interact. And that would cause unnecessary quarrel, rift, and whatnot. Okay? In fact, in front of them, if you can behave like as if you are a mad fellow, you are good for nothing is better.
Okay.
Okay? So the best is now you have come to Krishna consciousness, you have now registered in LGLG program. First learn this science, you will be a beautiful person.
Okay, sure.
And time will come when you would start praying for them instead of thinking them they are your enemy.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Hari. Thank you very much. Atindra.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. So I have two questions for you, sir. First is whether it is a devotee can surrender after becoming a devotee, or to the Supreme Lord after becoming a devotee, or before the devotee, because it should not be a chicken and egg situation.
No, the surrendering process is a continuous process. There is different level of surrender. Yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. Krishna is telling to Arjuna. According to your level of surrender, Krishna reciprocates with you. If your surrender level is 5%, Krishna reciprocates 5%. Your surrender is 10%, Krishna would reciprocate 10%. When your surrender is 100%, Krishna reciprocates with you 100%. Okay? So it is not that when you become perfect, then you will surrender. That never happens. You have to start with 5%. 5, make it 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay? And desire. Always your goal is that I must surrender 100% to Krishna. Okay? And just because I told that, I was told now, Guruji has said 5%, so I will surrender to 5%. No. You can start with 80% surrender. So you don't have to wait, I will start with 5% surrender and then 10 and then 15. No. Okay? So surrendering process is a continuous process. We learn every day how to surrender better. What is your next question?
Prabhu, the next question is in Varnashram, the duty is depends on your nature. But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Arjuna is born in a Kshatriya family. Now, how the birth is, because even if I am taken a birth in a Kshatriya or a Vaishya family, I can always,
No. Krishna didn't say that you are Kshatriya because you are born in a Kshatriya family. No. He is a trained Kshatriya. Arjuna is a trained Kshatriya. By training he is a Kshatriya.
Okay.
By qualification he is Kshatriya. It happens that by birth also he is a Kshatriya, but that is not being told here.
No, so actually, my question is little different.
Varna and ashrama is always based on your nature. It has nothing to do with your birth.
Yeah, so exactly. So if I am in a Vaishya family, still I can gain.
Yeah, suppose you are born in a Vaishya family, more likely you may have qualities of a Vaishya. But if you are not able to pick up the trait of a Vaishya, you cannot become a successful businessman.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Guru.
Divya, there are several versions of Bhagavad Gita in the world. How can one verify by oneself that a particular version is correct? Like if you touch a fire, we can understand that it burns. Divya, you have come in our contact, right? And we have already tasted the fruit of Bhagavad Gita. So what Bhagavad Gita we are saying, you have to have some faith. Right? So, I don't think that any other Bhagavad Gita has changed lives of the people all over the world the way Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita has changed. First of all, Bhagavad Gita is one. But who is presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is? Okay, so only a Vaishnava can present this. And it is not that Bhagavad Gita as it is not there. In many local languages they may be there. But for the first time Srila Prabhupada presented to English speaking audience the Bhagavad Gita. And then that got translated to literally almost many languages. I don't know, 50, 60 languages Bhagavad Gita has been translated. And this version is really, if you read English Bhagavad Gita Prabhupada, you would learn Bhagavad Gita very fast. And proof of pudding is that you join in our LG course and then you will understand. How will you understand this is the right Bhagavad Gita? You read it and you see whether it makes meaningful to your life. Next. If Arjuna denied to fight, who else could have been instrument of Krishna for fighting? Don't worry. Only there was no question that Arjuna would not have fought. I have been telling, Arjuna became an instrument of Krishna. He was used by Krishna to teach us. So there is no way somebody else would have fought on behalf of Krishna. It's for argument's sake. Anmol. Why is Krishna telling Arjuna about enjoying the earthly kingdom if he wins the war? And at the same time calling the material world as dukkha. I am humbly requesting, please. You see that it is not that Krishna is emphasizing that he would rule over the world. That is because already Arjuna has already said, even if you give me the unrivaled kingdom of the universe, I am not interested to fight. So Arjuna has made it very clear. What Krishna is telling that if you don't fight, if you don't accept my logic that you are a soul. So he is not telling to Arjuna. Through Arjuna he is telling all of us. Right? He is saying that you didn't accept the soul, right? Because we are hearing Bhagavad Gita, right? The soul part we didn't understand. Then we should understand our nature part, act according to nature. You see, the whole world, particularly India as a country, is suffering because we are not acting according to nature. One particular economist, I am forgetting his name, he was telling, he said India is surviving not because of this modern economy. It is surviving because of our traditional professional skill that has been transferred from family tradition. And he gave many examples. He gave the example of Surat, many places, how the family traditional businesses have, percolated through the family tradition, and that is contributing to India's economy, not the so-called, the Western economy that you look at. And this is a fact actually. So we must act according to our nature. If we are not able to follow the soul, so let's follow our nature. So how do you understand the nature? That requires Gurukula education. That requires a spiritual teacher to tell you, this is your nature. Follow this nature. So this system has been broken and we have to bring it back. So it is not that Krishna is telling Arjuna. He is, because listener of Bhagavad Gita is not only those who are seeker of the, because if somebody is not qualified to grasp what is soul, You should get something from Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita is for everyone. So, those who don't understand what is soul, let them understand what is their bodily nature. So that is the point. Next. Likita. How can we overcome hatredness? If one person has troubled us very much, how can we forgive them? By hating, I am suffering more. You can forgive because that person is suffering. By considering someone as your enemy, you would also suffer. And that person who is giving you trouble, he is also suffering. That is why he is giving you trouble. The best way to come out of this situation is you take up Krishna consciousness, you understand Bhagavad Gita, you channelize your energy in spiritual cultivation. Once you are spiritually strong, then, you say, no, the elephant passes, the dogs howl, and elephant passes. Right? Dogs bark, and elephant passes. So, the same thing. If you are spiritually empowered, nobody can trouble you. Nobody can trouble you. That is my experience of last 30 years. That trouble, people will be there to give us trouble, but you will remain unaffected by such thing. Don't worry. Yeah. China Sharma, it is very difficult to stay away from material desire. How to control such desire? Develop spiritual desire. Develop spiritual desire. Develop spiritual desire. There is no other way, my dear friend. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasovarjam rasopiyasya param drushta nivartate. Spiritual desire, hanker to act for Krishna consciousness. And if you don't have service, ask me, I will give you. Don't worry. Next. Dipti Ranjan Sahu, if meat is not acceptable, how taking milk is not a sin? Because that is also from animal, is meant for kids of the cow, but we are collecting it and depriving the calves from it. If you come to our Gosala, you will see we sufficiently feed our calves, and then only we collect our milk. Calves are fed nicely. The cow understands that I am being maintained by someone, so my milk is for both my calf and my master who is caring for me. So if you run a Gausala nicely, it is not like current dairy business which has a lot of loopholes. I am not here, but most of our the dedicated Gausalas, they really do a proper seva, and the calves are properly fed. If you don't feed the calves, then you will not have a next generation good cow. You will get a good cow if calf is fed properly, right? So the Gosala or the dairy business will die if you keep the calves starved. So this is not the correct, this is just hearsay. Most of the time, I have seen so many proper dairy farm, and their cows are being properly taken care of, so also calves. So let's not worry about it. Calves, nobody deprives calf from its milk. Calf eats milk properly, and then only we collect the milk. And let's not also compare milk with meat. Meat is, you are killing someone. You are killing someone. It is, you are actually eating, by killing someone, you are creating a future life where you will be killed. Mamsa. Meat means mamsa. Mamsa. Mam means me, mamsa. That means if you are killing a goat, that means goat is saying, Mam, you are killing me. Sa. That you will become the same thing in your next life. Sa. Mam, sa. You eat a goat, so your next life is written, already written, that you will become a goat. You are eating chicken, your next life is already written, destined, that you will become a chicken. So don't take lightly the laws of God. Those who take lightly laws of God, they pay heavy price. So let's not compare meat with milk. Next. Sonal, how do I identify my karma? What if I am able to learn multiple things, I am good at them? How do I get the path chosen for me? See, multiple things means what? See, you can be an intellectual. So, in exhibiting your intellectual capability, you may do many things in that sphere. Right? Like you are an administrator. You may be administrated in many ways. So that nobody is, but there is a in Bhagavad Gita, there are specific characteristics corresponding to a specific varna. And looking at that, you can understand. I can easily understand just looking at those whom I have cultivated. I very well know what is their qualification, what is their nature. It's not very difficult to understand people's nature. Let me tell you, nowadays mostly people's nature are sense gratification. Unless you train people in penance and austerity, nature would not come out. And this is the most difficult aspect. We have to bring out nature. For nature, we have to condition them. Then only you will see the nature will come out. Okay, next question. Ankur Dwivedi, how we can attain fixed intelligence in which we are free of desires? Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Chant always. You attend our morning chanting session, hear Bhagavatam, register in LGLG course, and slowly you will be guided in the path of proper Krishna consciousness. How to look for higher tests? Follow the instructions that are given to you. Then you will get higher test. Next question. In my childhood, I have done a lot of sin due to lack of spiritual knowledge. I have killed many ants for my joy in my childhood. So now I am chanting and trying to follow in Krishna consciousness not to wash my sin. But because I love Krishna, so will Krishna accept me as his. Krishna says, Sarva dharman paritejya mam ekam saranam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayiswami masucha. Mokshayiswami masucha. Krishna is saying He will give us, He will deliver us while neutralizing our sin. He will take all our sin. Krishna will take all our sin. So don't worry. Don't think what you did in your past. Forget past. Now become Krishna conscious. That's it. Krishna Priya Burma Can you answer me? So many times I have heard that people, those who have burned in Vrindavan, will go back to Godhead. But if someone is doing sins there, sins there. No. It is Vrindavan is not your physical idea of Vrindavan. Vrindavan is the place where Krishna is glorified. So if you are born in a Vaishnava family, whether in Timbuktu or in Iceland, doesn't matter. Wherever you are born, in a surrounding that is full with Krishna, that is filled with Krishna consciousness, then that is Vrindavan. So Vrindavan, very few people can enter into Vrindavan. Okay? So people going to Vrindavan for making a business, or a Vrindavan now has become a place where I can do a profitable business, and you go there and you live there. That is not Vrindavan. Vrindavan is a place where I go and chant and practice my devotional life. I take shelter of a sadhu and serve him. That is Vrindavan. Okay, I think we should stop here. This is already late, right? How many questions are still there? 3, 4. Let me see what are those questions. I don't want to disappoint people. Rajan Kumar, can you tell me about different forms of lust? Lust for women, lust for money, lust for power, lust for any object. So lust is of various kind. You are a student, Rajan, so always consider any woman, any girl as your mother, and that way you can control your sexual lust, and now keep Krishna as your master goal. Then other lust, like lust for power, lust for other things will decrease. Krishna said infamy is worse than death. Yes, when practicing devotee, we face situation of infamy either by accidental wrongdoing or being misunderstood by public. How should they deal with it? We have to depend on Krishna. We have to depend on Krishna. And if Krishna has given us infamy as a devotee, we are practicing devotional service. If Krishna has given us infamy, then Krishna has to help us to come out of that situation. So you have to take complete shelter of Krishna. Next, Nikita Sati. Nikita, what is your question? How to tolerate agitation of our senses? Engage your senses in Krishna's service. Your hands by mopping the floor, making garlands for Krishna, cooking for Krishna, your legs for walking to the temple, for performing Sankirtan, for dancing, eyes for seeing Krishna, like that. Kanaklata, does our lifetime is fixed by Krishna or it depends upon our karma? Our lifetime in this body is fixed by our karma. Time has fixed it, and time has given us a specific body, and time will take away our body as well. So I think we are done. Thank you very much. But surprisingly, I took a chapter, nobody asked literally from that chapter, right? So people ask different thing. Anyhow, it's good. After a long time, I am speaking on Bhagavad Gita in the evening, and people ask many questions. I am very, very happy. Lord bless all of you. Krishna bless all of you. Hare Krishna. Sri Sri Lakshmi Narsingh Dev Bhagwan ki jai. Sila Giriraj Krishna ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Ramanju ki jai. Tomorrow also we will have our next session in the Bhagavad Gita.